I awoke to a slow, rhythmic sound. Two-woo-woo, 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 two-woo-woo. Where am I? What is that smell? The smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils. My mouth went dry. How long have I been here? I tried my best to open my eyes, but it was too bright. With a groan, I immediately closed them and concentrated on breathing. I couldn't move, and every breath I took felt like a knife piercing my side. I slowly became aware of pain everywhere, as if some sort of veil was falling off of me. He woke up. Who was that? Mr. Davis, can you hear me? I nodded, or so I thought. Mr. Davis, you're in the hospital. You were brought in last night. The doctor will be here to talk to you as soon as he's free. Just try to relax and don't move any more than you have to. I tried to lift my arm, and oh shit, it hurt. What the hell did they do to my arm? The pain shoots all the way up to my shoulder. The stabbing pain makes me breathe even harder, and that knife goes through me again. What the hell is going on? I decide to lie still and just try to breathe slowly and shallowly. It must have gone away, and eventually I tried to open my eyes again. The vision in my left eye was blurry, and I couldn't see anything with my right eye. I think a nurse walked by, so that confirmed what they told me. Another glance in my direction. She must have noticed me licking my lips because she offered me a straw, and I took a sip. Oh yeah, so good. I don't know how much time passed. I tried to avoid anything that hurt me, but since that included breathing, I didn't have much success. A white coat moves in my direction. Mr. Davis, I'm Dr. Patel. You were brought in by ambulance last night. How are you feeling? How the hell do you think I'm feeling? At least that's what I was trying to say. Don't try to talk, Mr. Davis. You have a broken nose and a hairline fracture on your cheekbone. What the hell? He asked me a question and then tells me to shut up? Last night, you were in surgery for 4 hours trying to repair your right knee. You also have 3 broken ribs on your right side and a compound fracture of your right forearm. Your eye? Yes, your right eye is swollen and puffy, but the damage is superficial. The swelling will subside in a few days. You actually had a mild concussion when you were brought in, so we want you to be completely rested for a while. You're gonna stay here until we're sure you're on the mend. How? I'm sorry, Mr. Davis. I don't have to answer that question. When you're ready, the police will talk to you. In the meantime, they don't want us to distort your answers. The nurses will take care of you. In the meantime, I suggest you just get some rest. You're still in post-op, but you'll be moved to your room soon. And then he was gone. What was that? What the hell happened to me? I was drinking and partying with my friends. I was dancing with, oh yeah, Karen. The memory was coming back to me. I was dancing with Karen, my ex-girlfriend from high school. She was rubbing my leg and rubbing up against me. My God, she was even hotter than when we were in high school. Some guy kept trying to interfere. Who was it? It doesn't matter. She kept laughing at him and telling him to let her have a little fun for once. Oh yeah, now I remember. That wuss was her husband. They moved me to a double room and I got some sleep. I wanted them to put me to sleep for a week, but they refused. They said something about a concussion. Could it get any worse? I don't think I slept much, but it's impossible to say for sure. Time passed slowly when I was awake, and I measured it in breaths. Small, shallow breaths hurt less. My throat was dry. Where's the nurse? It hurt to even swallow. Who are these people making all this noise? They must be visiting the guy in the other bed. Could they please just shut the hell up? Breathe easy. Take shallow breaths. Just try to relax. Where are my visitors? Where's my wife? She should be here. I haven't seen my parents or my sister's family. Do they even know I'm here? Mr. Davis? I open my only healthy eye. He's looking down at me. Cheap brown suit, notebook, must be a cop. I nod. Mr. Davis, I'm Detective George Abbott. I've been assigned to your case. What can you tell me about last night? I'm trying to explain. I was attacked. I was minding my own business. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, I can't understand what you're saying. Detective, he's not ready. The swelling's making it hard for him to talk, and the painkillers are making him dizzy. You should be back tomorrow. Thank you, nurse, Mr. Davis. I'll be back when you're ready to talk. The suit turned and walked out. What the I'm ready. Find this guy. My side is hurting again, and the pain in my leg has started to throb. Nurse! Nurse! My leg! Mr. Davis, does your leg hurt? Your painkillers are probably wearing off. I'll get you something. She comes back with 2 pills, water and a straw. Just lie there and try to calm down. Don't move any more than you have to. You'll feel better tomorrow. She left before I could ask her where my wife was. I slept lightly that night, and the next day they put me on my feet with a walker. That's what they do now. When you have knee surgery, they want you to get up and walk right away. I walked to the far end of the hall and back. Then they put ice on my knee, and 4 hours later they make me do it again. I take the oxycodone as soon as they give it to me and take ibuprofen and acetaminophen in between like it's a tick-tock. I'm lying in my bed when the suit comes back on. Mr. Davis, you may not remember me. I'm Detective George Abbott, and I'm here to talk to you about what happened. He paused for a moment as I nodded, then continued. How much do you remember? I shrugged. I remember that night and leaving the party. I was walking across the parking lot when I was hit from behind. I vaguely remember falling. But that's it. Do you remember what happened before that? It was our 10th high school reunion. I came from Chicago, where I live now. It was a cotillion. The committee decorated the gym, and we finally got all the drinks we couldn't get when we were in high school there. I thought that would get him, but Detective Abbott didn't even smile. I met up with my buddies, some of their wives, the usual. My ex-girlfriend, Karen, was there with her wimpy husband. She ran up as soon as she saw me and dragged me to the dance floor. Hell, she was even hotter than when we were in high school. One song, and it was like we were back in high school. She melted into me like she always had and was soon dry humping my leg. I mean, hell, she'd always been a cold-blooded fox, but that night she was out of control. Okay, I was bragging a little bit, but it was true, and I was just getting to the good stuff. Do you remember anything else? Her weak husband kept trying to intervene, and she kept laughing at him. At one point, she said, "Just go away and let me have some fun." Hell, she may have been cold, but to me she was hot. We found a table, got a few drinks, and talked. She kept stroking my leg under the table until hubby finally dragged her back to their table. That didn't last long, and either she would come to me or I would go to her. I took her away from hubby's table 3 or 4 times. One more round on the dance floor, and it was settled. I ran to the men's room and ducked down the stairs to the men's locker room. 5 minutes later, she joined me. Hell, she was hot in high school, but that night she was on fire. She was screaming like a wild woman, and with all those tiles on the floor and walls, it's a wonder they couldn't hear us upstairs. Just when I thought we were done, she started up again. We finally slipped out of the locker room and went upstairs separately. The reunion was winding down, so I headed to my car. At some point, as I was crossing the parking lot, I was hit from behind. I remember hitting the ground, but that's all I remember. And then I woke up here. I looked past the detective and noticed a nurse standing not far away from him. She seemed to be listening. I guess she doesn't have a personal life of her own. Who cares? Detective Abbott nodded and took some notes, but I got the feeling he wasn't taking it seriously. Is there anything else you'd like to add? No, that's all I remember. All right then, I have your statement. I'll contact you in a few days if I need anything else. That's it? Can you at least tell me something about what happened to me? Well, we don't have a lot of leads. Apparently there were some people in the parking lot, but no one admits to seeing anything. What? No one? What about my friends? As far as we can tell, Mr. Davis, no one wants to admit they're your friend. Some people admit to seeing you at the reunion, but no one saw you leave, and no one saw the attack. That's crazy. There must have been at least 20 people in the parking lot. What can I say, Mr. Davis? No one's admitting they saw anything. Well, what do you think happened? Off the record, we think Karen Jefferson's husband Bill kicked your ass. That wuss? He may be a wuss, but he walks and you don't. Doesn't seem to bother you too much. A crime was committed. That's the way it used to be. What does that mean? It used to be a crime to have sex with another man's wife, but that law was repealed years ago. Now it's just a nasty thing that no decent man with a shred of self-respect would even think of doing. I looked him in the eye. He didn't even try to hide his disgust. Sighs. Okay, I get it. You're going to pretend like this never happened. Not at all, Mr. Davis. If anyone comes forward with new evidence, we'll certainly consider it. Right now, it looks like another unsolved assault. There's a lot of those when it comes to drinking. What if I press charges? You can do that, but without proof, it probably won't lead anywhere. Even if it does, you should know that juries here don't treat men who fuck other men's wives well. There's a good chance that even with the evidence, you won't get a verdict you like. So you're not going to do anything. There's nothing more to do here." With those words, Detective Abbott turned and left the room. Typical cop. Where the hell is my family? Where are my friends? Why didn't my friends tell the police what they saw? Damn, I hated this sanctimonious city growing up, and I can't wait to get back to Chicago. That nurse who overheard me talking to the detective is still in the room. Nurse? Do you have a minute?" She looks annoyed, but she comes over to me. "My wife has been notified that I'm here?" "Yes, Mr. Davis. She was contacted when you were brought in. She was here when they brought you out of surgery with your parents. How come I haven't seen them? Were they turned away for some reason?" "No, they were talking to some of your friends when you were brought out of surgery, and then they left." With those words, she just turned and walked out of the room. They left? They just left me here? The next chance I get, I call another nurse. "I'm sorry, but I had a cell phone when I got here. Do you know where it is?" "It should be with the clothes you were wearing." She opens the closet and pulls out a plastic bag with a drawstring. "Here it is." With those words, she hands me my phone and walks away. The phone is dead. After lunch, they take me to rehab. They make me walk back and forth and tell me it's good for my recovery. The pain in my knee is indescribable. During therapy, they make me bend my knee. They are working on getting it to at least a 90-degree turn. It's about 45, and I feel like screaming in pain. The therapist tells me, no results without pain, but all I want to do is rip his head off and spit down his throat. When the rehab session ends, they wheel me back to my room. I guess they decide they've tortured me enough and feed me lunch. No one comes here for food. While I'm lying there eating Jell-O, my sister walks into the room. At last, I have a visitor. "Sis, it's so good to see you. Where is everyone? Does anyone else know I'm here?" She's not answering me. "How are you doing?" "Shitty. I got a broken knee, I got a broken arm, I got 3 broken ribs, and I got a smashed face." "I can see that. What did you do that got you in this condition?" "Nothing. I was just walking to my car after the reunion." She's ignoring my answer. "Mom and Dad were worried about you." "Why aren't they here?" "The nurse told me they were here when they wheeled me out of surgery, but then they left." "We were all here." "Why did you all leave?" "Damn it. I've been here for almost 24 hours and I haven't seen one friendly face since I got here." She ignores what I said and just seems to be looking around the room. "Well, at least you're here. I'm really glad you're here." I pull out a short straw. "What?" "I was with Mom and Dad along with Janet, her parents, and her brother." "Janet's here. My wife came down from Chicago, but she didn't bother to see how I was doing." "Bill and his parents were here too." "Bill? Who's Bill?" And then it hit me. The detective said Karen's husband's name is Bill. Bill Jefferson. I believe you met him last night. Why was Jefferson meeting my parents? When are Mom and Dad coming? I don't know if they're coming. Like I said, I drew the short straw. What is that supposed to mean? It means we're not proud of you at all right now, little brother. You've embarrassed the family. Disgraced? I was attacked from behind. I didn't even have a chance to defend myself. My sister leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "You fucked another man's wife, you sneaky piece of shit. Do you think Mom and Dad are proud of you right now? You think they want to show up at church next Sunday? Do you know what it was like for them to come face to face with Bill and his family and admit that they raised a despicable coward who sneaks around behind another man's back and fucks his wife? It wasn't my fault. She wanted it. A man can't resist that kind of pressure. By this time, she had straightened up again. She looked me in the eye and said, "You are not just a man. You're a married man. And don't give me any of that bullshit about you being a victim. Everyone at the reunion is talking about how you went after her." Oh, she wanted it. It wasn't just me. Pig! So what if she wanted it? You could have shown some character and not embarrassed the whole family. I wasn't going to win this argument today, and I needed someone to help me. Okay, maybe I could have behaved better, but it's all water under the bridge now. Nothing. When's Janet coming? Does she know? How angry is she? Well, she had a long talk with Bill and some of your former classmates, so take a wild guess. How did they find out? My sister shook her head. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Karen was screaming in the tiled room just below the dance floor, screaming like someone was being murdered. A few men ran down to the basement, followed by a few women, and everyone saw you two fucking like animals. Did you know there are cell phone videos, multiple cell phones? Do you know what it was like for your wife to watch those videos? Do you think our parents liked it? Do you think Janet's parents liked it? You fucked up big time, little brother, and you're not going to get away with it this time. I'm going to tell everyone you're okay. And with those words, my big sister, who looked after me when I was little and protected me on the playground when the big kids bullied me, turned and walked out of the room, leaving me alone. A day passes, and I spend it with an ice bag on my knee, swallowing painkillers. I can't even take a shit without calling the nurse to help me get there. I have one more walk down the hallway and back, and I'm eating a dinner that wouldn't even pass for a meal in a kennel. All the while, I'm trying to think of what I'm going to say to Janet. These videos are going to be hard to refute. Eventually, I fall asleep. The next day, the nurse tells me I'm going home and that I'll need help for a few weeks while I continue physical therapy. I ask the nurse to call my parents. They will have to accept me no matter how upset they are. One more walk down the hall, a course of therapy, a large bag of ice and some pills, and I'm ready to go. The nurse tells me my parents are waiting for me downstairs, and I breathe a sigh of relief. My relief was premature. When I got to the doors of the hospital, I was happy to see that they were waiting for me. Everyone was there, including my parents, my sister, and even my wife and her family. I had been forgiven. Once again, my relief was premature. My loving wife walked over to my wheelchair, reached behind my back, and then slapped me in the face with everything she had. "You bastard!" she shouted, and then turned and walked out the door accompanied by her parents. My mother walked over to me and I cringed. "You're still my son, and I love you, but I'm not ready to see you yet. We've agreed that you'll go to a rehab center until you can function on your own. Maybe by then we'll be ready to talk to you." My dad just said, "Don't count on it," and they both walked to their car. My wife's brother came up to me and said, "You know what I do for a living, right?" I said, "Yes, you're a lawyer." He dropped a thick envelope in my lap and said, "You have been served. The package contains a petition for divorce and a court order to stay away from your home, your wife, and your children until the case is heard." By the time I took my eyes off the envelope in my lap, it was gone too. "Sis, what's going on? Remember when I told you I drew the short straw? Now do you know what that means? Nobody wanted to come and see how you were doing. We drew lots and I lost." With those words, she turned and walked away. I thought that was it. But then I noticed another one leaning against the wall. If there was anger and sadness in my family's eyes, there was hatred and rage in his eyes. "Hey, Bill. I suppose you've come for your piece of flesh?" He straightened up, took a few slow steps toward the door, turned and said, "Get ready, Davis. I plan on taking it in installments." Then he disappeared. I thought there had been times in my life when I had been alone, but until that moment, I hadn't known what loneliness really was. Everyone I thought cared about me had turned their backs on me, all because of a little pussy on the side. What the hell was the big deal? The wuss was pissed. I understand that. But why my own family? I took a cab to a rehab center and settled in for 2 weeks of daily torture. They'd let me go when I could climb the stairs. In all this time, not a single person came to see me except my lawyer, and I paid him extra for that. I tried to call Karen, but she wouldn't return my calls. I later learned that she was struggling with her own divorce. My arm, ribs, and knee, not to mention my face, told me that Bill was not the forgiving type. I'll give her some time. Maybe she'll come to her senses. When I returned to Chicago, I found I still had a job, but I needed to find an apartment. The divorce was quick. It seems that although no one saw me get attacked in the parking lot, everyone lined up to testify about what they saw in the locker room. When it was over, my lawyer said I was lucky I kept my balls. That's the whole story of my reunion. I doubt anyone will forget about it anytime soon. I know I won't, so it's a dark story. In case you haven't noticed, I'm not a fan of men who fuck other men's wives. I like to think that most people strive to be decent, fail sometimes, and will take a stand when life demands it. I also like to believe in the power of forgiveness and redemption, but it's not always there when you need it.